Hi everyone! So last Epoch has been out for a little while and a lot of people keep asking me how can they get to level 100, how can they finish their character, and they feel like they're not really progressing fast enough. It does take quite a while to level to 100. Here's some footage of me leveling. This was on day 2 when I was racing to level 100. I was the second in the world to reach level 100 on hardcore with my Falconer. And I think I have some valuable tips to share for you guys that might help you out. Before we continue, I want to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's video, CyberGhost VPN. VPNs, or virtual private networks, allow you to browse the web more safely and protected from prying eyes. If your data is not encrypted, then hackers might have very easy access to it and steal your data or read your personal messages. They can also allow you to browse the web much faster by connecting you to the right server so that you always have the best connection. In order to achieve this, they have over 7,000 servers in 90 countries all over the world. CyberGhost VPN is one of the global leaders in the privacy and security industry with over 38 million users, and they are the most recommended VPN on Trustpilot. Their app works on all of the major platforms including Windows, iOS, Mac, Android, Linux, your smart TVs, and even your gaming consoles. And in addition to all of what I just mentioned, they also have a complete no logs policy. None of your data is going to be stored on the CyberGhost VPN servers. They have literally no clue what you're doing, so no one can really spy on you even there. And the CyberVPN software is optimized for all different activities. Here you can surf, torrent, or stream and have an easy step-by-step guide. Another great perk of using CyberGhost VPN is that you have complete access to all of the content of your favorite streaming platforms without really worrying about any local restrictions or blocked content in your country. With just a click of a button, you have access to all of the content worldwide. This VPN is very easy to set up. You just need to sign up. You can use my link in the description and you're gonna get a great special offer with up to 84% off and 4 months for free. And you can sign up for a subscription risk-free because they have a 45 days money-back guarantee if you are unsatisfied with their service. The cool thing is that just signing up for one plan allows you to connect up to 7 devices to this CyberGhost VPN account, so you can share it with your entire family. So go check out the link in the description or in the pinned comment, and let's go back to the video. If you are pretty fast, then you can reach level 100 in as little as like around 24 hours. So you can see this here right now. There's a timer on the bottom left. This was my character creation timer basically. And here I'm level 99. My total time to reach level 100 back then was 26.5 hours. And that included a lot of downtime with like servers and loading times, all that kind of stuff that happened on day 1. So the speed running times are definitely pretty quick, but of course not everyone has like an Omega Blaster on like an OP build like this one. So you can definitely expect relatively long times to level to 100. So if you compare this to other games, for example Diablo 4, it is probably roughly twice as long, maybe a bit less than twice. Yeah, PoE I guess is somewhat comparable. In general, the progression just kind of like slows down over time. You can get to like level 70, 80 relatively fast. This is like about the time when you reach empowered monoliths on a fresh character. Like speedrunners can do that in not really that many hours actually, like probably 6 to 8 hours or so. But then kind of like the progression just kind of becomes like a slower and slower curve. And especially at level 95 plus, it does slow down quite a bit, and you want to go after exactly the right strategy basically in order to get those last few levels and finish your character. So in order to level up to level 100, you need to understand that there are certain XP multipliers that you can acquire, most importantly from boosting your corruption. So as you level through the campaign and then get to the early monoliths, you kind of just like progress like the quests, and you don't really care all too much about XP. XP farming only really starts once you're in empowered monoliths. So for that, you have to, do all of these normal monoliths. So you start down here, and then typically you go the right side if you want to be fast, because you have the higher level monoliths, and you only need to do those up here until Reign of Dragons, and then finally those 3 level 90 monolith timelines. And once you have done that, you can go here and unlock the empowered monoliths. So this is pretty straightforward. And in empowered monoliths, as I mentioned, this is probably around level 75 to 80 or so most of the time. This is where the actual endgame starts, and this is where the grind really begins in order to get to level 100. So you don't really want to try to farm XP in those lower level monoliths. because they have low level monsters and also they don't have lower levels of corruption. In normal monoliths, you have a maximum corruption of 50, and in empowered monoliths, the corruption starts at minimum 100. And corruption is relatively important in order to scale up your experience. So you can see this here right now. So if I move the camera a little bit, you have these map modifiers here and the enemy modifiers that apply to those echoes when you run them. And you see here right now I have 1002 corruption. This is obviously extremely high. This is something that not many players, not many builds can do. And it's also not something where you really just farm XP. But just as an example, I get 1099% increased experience gained when I run an echo right now. So I get a ton of XP because my corruption is very high. As a rule of thumb, you can kind of say that corruption is roughly 1-to-1, around a 1% extra health and damage for the monsters and extra item rarity and extra experience. So you see this here, I have 1000 corruption, it's 1082% more health and damage. And I also have like around the same number. I think it's exactly the same actually. I think you get exactly the same number of health and damage also as extra rarity and as extra XP. Now this starts out a little bit lower than that. So if you have like a timeline that is like corruption level 100, maybe I have one here that I didn't really push. Like for example, this one, this is where you start. You start at 100 corruption and it's 60% more health and damage and also 60% increased rarity and 60% increased experience. So it kind of ramps up a little bit faster than 1-to-1, but I guess you get the idea. And the good thing about empowered monoliths is also that all the monsters everywhere are level 100. So you're never going to be over leveled compared to the monsters. You're always going to be under leveled compared to the monsters, meaning that you get, at least not XP malus. I'm not exactly sure if you get a bonus for being under leveled. But in the grand scheme of things, you don't really have to worry about, getting like penalties basically, because monsters are always level 100 in empowered monoliths. So it's very straightforward to level up. And the main way to increase your experience gain is through pushing corruption. Now you have to decide, okay, what is actually worth it for you to do, especially if you're on softcore. You can push it relatively high, but you may die sometimes and then you might lose the rewards and you might lose time. You have to do the echo again and so on. So you don't really want to like overstretch it. But if there's like some kind of comfortable corruption level for you, you want to try to hit that as soon as possible. So the way that I usually approach making a build is that, I go in here and like the echo timelines. And, I try to get like, 1 or 2 runs in for a good blessing everywhere. And then I start kind of focusing on one timeline to push a corruption. So you saw this here, this one is, I haven't really touched it at all. For example, there's literally 100 corruption. I haven't done anything here in the last ruin, but the Reign of Dragons is the one that I pushed with this character and I went all the way to 1000 corruption. When I was still leveling up, I was obviously not as powerful as my character is now that I've played this character for like 100 hours. So even post level 100, I geared up, I got better stuff, and I got much stronger and better at the game. But for example, when I was leveling, I was farming like somewhere between like 150 to 200 corruption. Not really all too much. And you see that even so, I was able to hit level 100 in 26 hours. If you have a stronger build or a safer build for hardcore purposes, for example, you can easily go, beyond 200, even 300 corruption or so, even without the perfect gear while leveling up, and you can get a lot more out of this XP. So, for example, again, like if you have like a timeline where you have, let's say 200 corruption, you might get like, something like 150 to 200% experience bonus. But if you do 400 corruption, you might get like around 400% bonus. This is almost double the bonus. And I don't know, like an increase in overall XP gains of like 60-70%. So obviously this massively speeds up what you can gain. So it comes down to really min-maxing the exact corruption level that you want to do. In order to push corruption, just a short reminder is that you can farm the boss of the timeline. So you get this Gaze of Orbis every time you defeat a timeline boss. And usually you want to go for 2 or 3 Gaze of Corruption, Gaze of Orbis, and then do a Shade of Orbis. So when you do this here, you get the extra corruption. You can see this on the bottom right. And like this, you can raise the corruption, you can make it harder, but you can also get more rewards. Now, one other thing that is also extremely valuable for leveling up, especially towards the higher levels. So this is something that I started doing at level 95. I kind of just ignored all of the loot at that point, and I was just like, you know, hyper focused on experience. I barely picked up anything. I made my filter super strict, and even like I skipped most of the rewards that I got from the echo rewards here, like, you know, the gold or, you know, some rings or whatever. I didn't even open the boxes. I just was literally blasting only through those echoes back to back to back without any downtime. Now, of course, it's a bit try hard, I understand, but at least for speedrunning purposes, this was kind of the way. But one other thing that you want to look at is those tomes of experience. So there are actually these experience rewards, literally, that you can get from those echoes. And they are actually really, really juicy, especially after level 95. So I was not really looking out for them too much before that, because my level ups were still relatively fast, like sub 1 hour or so. Just kind of grinding out those echoes without really worrying about the rewards. But then I realized, yeah, at 95 it really slowed down from the XP that I gained from monster kills. And instead, most of my experience actually started coming from those tomes, and I can show you. So here's one of these examples. I had just finished an echo that gives these tome of experience rewards, and you can look at the experience here on the bottom on my XP bar. This is at level 98. And I open the reward, and you can see here that picking up these tomes of experience, you can see the bar move a little bit. It's not very much, but of course this is almost the last level. So I get like, I don't know, 2 or 3% experience from just running one of those echoes that gives the tome of experience reward. So I can show this again here. So I finish this thing, I go in, and you see here I go from like almost the end of this bar to a bit more than on the next bar here. So those experience tomes are pretty valuable once you reach those higher levels. And for example, at 95, this is even more. And the funny part is you can actually duplicate those rewards. So in case you're playing Circle of Fortune, you have one of these rank rewards here, where at rank 5 it says 35% chance for double reward from Monolith Echoes. And you can actually duplicate those terms and you can get 6 of those experience terms. And in that case, I would get like almost half a bar of experience at level 98 from running a single echo. So I'm going to show this here right now. I found another clip, and this is exactly where this Circle of Fortune reward procs. So I open the Tome of Experience reward from the echo, and you see here again my experience bar. I'm like 98, almost at the end. I'm at the half bar of the last bar. And when I open this thing, you see here, boom, I got almost a half a bar because I got 6 tomes. You see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So those experience rewards can be duplicated, and especially for getting to level 100, Circle of Fortune is very powerful because of this bonus XP reward. So 35% of the time you're gonna get double. So that is a pretty sizable experience bonus. It's not like required to be efficient, but I guess it probably increases your overall leveling speed by something like 10 to 15%. So it is a relatively noticeable amount, to be honest. And you can also see here, I'm just going to show you a bit of a time warp going through an echo. So I'm going to jump 1 minute and look at my experience bar. It doesn't really move all that much for actually completing the echo. So you see this again here. This is 1 minute before, 1 minute later. So it does move maybe like 1 or 2% or something, and I cleared out a lot of monsters. It's a pretty fast build here, but it just doesn't really give you all that much experience actually fighting those monsters. You kind of just want to rush those echoes, try to hunt down those tomes of experience, because this is really where all the juice is. And the monsters themselves, yeah, you want to try to get the extra stability, you want to try to push the corruption and so on, but in the grand scheme of things, tomes of experience are your friend, and you're hunting those down as much as possible, especially post level 95. Now that is a bit different for like the earlier levels. So here's, for example, some other clips where I am level 94. So maybe you can find something here, but running like a map. So again, we can do like a 1 minute jump here. You see here, I get like maybe a quarter of a bar or something, a bit less than that. But yeah, so something like this. But if I go pick up these tomes of experience at level 94, I would get more than half a bar probably, because the experience required is lower in this level. So those are really important, and you want to hunt them down as much as possible. This also means that when you are going around trying to find those tomes of experience, you always want to try to branch out to paths where you have the most options and where you can avoid either very dangerous modifiers or arenas. So you see this here, for example, I have like a tome right here. So this would be perfect. This is not an arena. You want to try to avoid arenas as much as possible, because they take very long most of the time, unless you have a very slow build arena events are just kind of like, you know, boring and slow, and they take forever, and you can run like 3 other echoes in the same time. So usually whenever you have arenas, you try to skip them. So if you look at this here, it will literally say arena, by the way, in case you didn't know that. So if you look around here, just one, for example, it says Rustlands Arena. So I have this here, and you kind of want to try to not go down that way. But of course, you know, let's say here's a Tome of Experience, for example, and this is an arena. I would run that. So this is okay because it actually gives me the reward that I'm hunting. And then, for example, if I do this, I can see the next one here. And if there's another Tome of Experience behind this one, I would probably run this and then go to the Tome as well. So that is okay. But if you can avoid it, then you should avoid running arenas. And also sometimes there may be like very, very dangerous mods here. So that depends a bit on the timelines you're running. They all have their own mods. But one in particular is this one here. I have it. This is here. Enemies are deadly if they have not been damaged recently. So this is by far the most dangerous mod they can have on a map, and it exists in certain monolith timelines. And at least on hardcore, this is something I try to skip as much as possible. However, it is also very juicy, as you can see. So this one gives you plus 40% extra rarity and experience when you run it for 2 runs. So sometimes you could actually, for example, try to stack this modifier and then go and do a tome run. So for example, we have this here, and you see here this map mod is like a very easy one. It just has a glancing blow thing and gives you 15% rarity and 5% extra experience for 2 runs. So instead of just running this, I could run something like this here that gives me the deadly mod with the 40% extra experience gain, and then I run the tome thing, because those things are actually affected by the extra experience rewards that they're getting. So like this, you can kind of like min-max your runs a little bit, so you can unlock the tomes of XP echoes, and then, you know, stack up a good extra XP reward here, and then go in and do them. Now, of course, if you have a very large web, then this might be, you know, something hard to remember. But if you kind of, you know, keep an eye on the overall state of your monolith and the timeline, and, you know, where are all of the rewards that you're kind of pursuing, then this can be a very effective strategy as well. And there is also another thing that you can do, which is there are some of those special echoes that you can find. I'm gonna show them. So this is from the Maxwell article with the advanced monolith strategies. And there are a bunch of like special echoes that you can find. So most importantly, we have the Vessel of Chaos, and this one will re-roll all of the rewards that exist that you have not claimed yet in all of your existing echoes. So what you can do is that you can kind of like stay on one timeline if you have found like a comfortable corruption level where you don't really want to go beyond right now. You know, you can make like this really sprawling, you know, net of echoes. You see right now, for example, here's a start. I just went up, but you can also go here to the right and to the top, and, you know, down here and here. So there can be a lot of these echoes, like, you know, literally, I don't know, 200 or something, a lot of them. And you don't necessarily complete all of them because you're trying to hunt down exactly the right ones. You know, you're going to go down this path. You're going to try to find these Tome of Experience. Maybe you're going to do some of those beacon echoes here and there where you're going to reveal more of the surrounding area and then go hunt down the tomes there. And well, at some point you're going to find this, the Vessel of Chaos. And if you run it, then it will re-roll all of the rewards on all of the other echoes you have not completed. And this is also something that I use because, you know, at some point I have like, you know, 50 different options that I have not run that I could run, because I have this, you know, net, you know, going in all directions. You know, I have one here and this spreads out to those two, and I have here something and this spreads out to this two, and so on. And everywhere I have these little corners where you could go and continue. And well, if you run this Vessel of Chaos, most of them will change to something much more useful if I have not already taken them, and some of them will change to the Tomes of Experience. So sometimes you can like immediately run like 10 more Tome of Experience maps just because you have like these, you know, 50 different options, and some of them roll to exactly the right thing. And kind of similar with this one here, the Vessel of Memory. So this is where it uncompletes your entire web again. So you're gonna keep the map active, but you can basically run it all backwards again, or you can, I think you can run it from the start again as well. So you can complete everything a second time. And because you already know the path that you want to take, because you have already explored, it will not, you know, like remove the web or something. you see everything still, and you can go exactly the right path to hunt down all those tomes. So this is kind of like a general strategy of how to hunt down a monolith rewards, but since this is a leveling guide, I figured this is kind of important to include here. So those special echoes here, they're usually quite far out on the outside. So if you go like, you know, somewhere here, far to the right or to the left or somewhere, you will find them eventually. And then you can run them and you can either reroll the rewards or you can uncomplete the rewarded, the completed echoes, and you can run the entire thing again and hunt down exactly the right path of what you have already explored. And like this, I was able to get, you know, Tome of Experience rewards very frequently, and like basically on average, I don't know, every 3-4 runs or something like that. You just rush through some monoliths or some echoes, and then you get these rewards. Eventually gonna find these special reward echoes, and you can do it all over again. And eventually, after, you know, doing like, you know, 100 or 200 runs on this one web, maybe you're gonna do like, you know, an Orobis and get a bit more corruption and then start again, basically. And that also sums up this video here. So I hope it can help you. This is the entire strategy of what I pursued, how I leveled up to 100, and it worked really well for me. So TLDR, push the corruption to a comfortable level, but don't slow down too much. Don't really care about XP before empowered monoliths. And then, especially in the higher levels, like 95 plus, you want to hunt down those tomes of experience as much as possible. They're extremely rewarding. And if you can do that as a Circle of Fortune player, you can also get the double reward sometimes, so that makes it even better. So that's it. I hope this video helps you. I wish you good luck leveling up your characters in Last Epoch. Stay tuned for more stuff that I'm going to be releasing, and I'll see you guys next time.